In today's video, we explore 30 common behavioral-based interview questions and answers. Don't forget to customize these answers to highlight your unique qualifications and experiences. Question number 1. Tell me about a time you made a mistake at work and how you handled it. When answering this question, hiring managers want to see accountability, honesty, and growth. The best way to approach it is to briefly describe the mistake without blaming others, then focus most of your response on the steps you took to correct the situation and what you learned from it. Keep the mistake realistic, but not career-ending. Avoid using an example where the error caused major financial loss or safety issues. End by showing how you've applied what you learned to ensure it doesn't happen again. In a previous role as a sales associate, I once entered the wrong product code into the system during a busy shift. This caused a small delay in inventory tracking, and I realized it when my manager couldn't reconcile the stock at the end of the day. As soon as I noticed the error, I reported it to my manager and took responsibility rather than making excuses. I worked late that evening to manually recheck the inventory so that everything matched before closing. From that experience, I learned the importance of slowing down and double-checking my work even when the environment feels fast-paced. Since then, I've made it a habit to pause and verify details before finalizing transactions. This not only prevented future errors but also built more trust with my team because they knew I could handle mistakes responsibly while using them as opportunities to improve. It also strengthened my attention to detail, which has helped me handle more complex tasks accurately and confidently. Question number 2. Tell me about a time when you had to work closely with someone whose personality was very different from yours. This question is designed to assess teamwork, adaptability, and interpersonal skills. Hiring managers want to see if you can find common ground and collaborate effectively, even with people who approach work differently than you. The best strategy is to describe the differences in style or personality briefly, explain how you overcame them, and highlight the positive outcome. Emphasize respect, communication, and the ability to focus on shared goals. In my previous job, I worked closely with a colleague who had a very detail-oriented personality, while I naturally preferred to focus on big-picture planning. At first, it felt frustrating because I wanted to move quickly, but he often slowed things down to analyze small details. Instead of letting this create tension, I decided to adapt my approach by listening more and asking questions to better understand his perspective. We started dividing responsibilities. He would handle the fine details of data entry and verification, while I focused on the overall project timeline and client communication. Over time, I realized his thoroughness actually improved the quality of our work, while my efficiency helped us meet deadlines without becoming stuck in over-analysis. By respecting each other's strengths, we completed the project ahead of schedule and received positive feedback from our manager. That experience taught me that working with different personalities can be an advantage, as it brings balance and a more complete outcome when both sides are valued. Question number 3. Give me an example of a time you faced a conflict with a coworker. How did you handle that? This question evaluates conflict resolution and professionalism. Employers want to know that you can handle disagreements in a constructive way without letting emotions get in the way. The best strategy is to describe the conflict briefly, avoid negative language about the coworker, and show how you resolved the issue through communication and collaboration. End with the positive outcome and what you learned. At a previous job, I had a coworker who disagreed with me about how to prioritize tasks for a group project. She believed that spending more time on formatting reports was essential, while I felt that analyzing the data was more urgent. At first, the disagreement created tension and slowed our progress. Rather than letting it escalate, I suggested we take a short break and then sit down to list the tasks in order of importance. We brought in our manager to clarify expectations, and that helped us align with the overall project goals. Once we had clarity, we divided responsibilities so she could handle formatting with her eye for detail while I focused on data analysis. This allowed us to deliver a professional final product that impressed leadership. Through the experience, I learned the importance of patience, listening, and reframing conflict as a way to strengthen collaboration. Now, I approach workplace disagreements as opportunities to improve teamwork instead of obstacles. Question number 4. Describe a time when you had to step up and demonstrate leadership skills. Hiring managers ask this to evaluate your ability to lead even if you aren't in a formal leadership role. They want to see if you can take initiative, guide others, and keep a group focused under pressure. The best way to answer is to choose a moment where you voluntarily stepped up, explain your actions clearly, and emphasize the results. Make sure you show both responsibility and motivation. During my time at a retail store, my supervisor had to leave unexpectedly in the middle of a busy holiday shift. The team started to feel stressed because the line was long and multiple tasks were unfinished. I quickly stepped in by delegating roles, assigning one person to handle returns, another to restock shelves, and another to focus on ringing up customers quickly. I made sure to communicate calmly and clearly, reminding everyone that we could manage the workload if we stayed organized. I also jumped in to help with stocking when I noticed the shelves getting empty. By keeping the team motivated and structured, we made it through the shift without major issues and even received compliments from customers about how smoothly things ran despite the rush. My manager later thanked me for taking control and showing leadership when it was needed. That experience taught me that leadership isn't always about titles, but about stepping up and supporting others in critical moments. Question number 5. Tell me about a time you needed to get information from someone who wasn't very responsive. What did you do? This question measures persistence, communication, and problem solving. Employers want to know that you don't give up when faced with unresponsive colleagues or clients. The best strategy is to describe the situation, explain the steps you took to follow up respectfully, and show that you eventually found a solution without damaging the relationship. Focus on professionalism and patience. In one of my previous roles, I needed data from another department in order to complete a client report on time. Unfortunately, the person responsible for providing the information was not responding to emails or messages. Instead of becoming frustrated, I adjusted my approach by reaching out through different channels, including scheduling a quick face-to-face conversation to explain why the information was urgent. I also offered to assist by organizing the data in a way that would reduce their workload. This not only helped me get the information faster, but also showed the colleague that I respected their time. By taking a proactive and understanding approach, I received the data and was able to complete the report before the deadline. The experience taught me that persistence, paired with empathy, is key when working with people who may be overloaded or distracted. It also strengthened my ability to adapt communication styles to get results without creating conflict. Question number 6. Describe a time when it was especially important to make a good impression on a client. How did you do it? This question evaluates professionalism, customer service, and preparation. Employers want to see if you understand the importance of first impressions and if you can represent the company positively. The best strategy is to pick a moment where stakes were high. Explain what actions you took to prepare or adjust your behavior and share the positive outcome. Show that you're proactive and customer-focused. In my last role, I was asked to meet with a potential new client who was considering switching to our company. I knew this first interaction would set the tone, so I prepared thoroughly by reviewing their business, learning their industry challenges, and rehearsing how our services could address their needs. I arrived early, dressed professionally, and greeted them with confidence and a friendly demeanor. During the meeting, I listened more than I spoke, making sure to acknowledge their concerns before presenting solutions. I also provided a tailored presentation that showed I understood their goals and emphasized how our team could add value immediately. Afterward, I followed up with a personalized thank you email and a detailed summary of next steps. The client later told my manager that they felt heard and valued, which contributed to them signing a contract with us. That experience reinforced how preparation, genuine listening, and follow-through can leave a lasting positive impression and build long-term relationships. Question number 7. Give me an example of a time when you didn't meet a client's expectation. What happened and how did you fix it? This question tests accountability, problem solving, and customer service skills. Hiring managers want to know that you don't make excuses when expectations aren't met, but instead focus on resolving the issue. The best approach is to acknowledge the shortfall, explain how you fixed the immediate problem, and share how you prevented it from happening again. While working in customer support, I once promised a client that their issue would be resolved within 24 hours. Unfortunately, the technical fix took longer than expected due to a system error, and I had to inform them that there would be a delay. Instead of avoiding the situation, I called the client directly, apologized for the inconvenience, and explained the reason for the setback in simple, honest terms. I also gave them regular updates throughout the process so they never felt left in the dark. To help rebuild trust, I offered a small service credit as a gesture of goodwill, which they appreciated. Once the issue was resolved, I documented the problem and collaborated with the tech team to create a clearer timeline for similar requests. The client told me they valued my transparency and commitment to keeping them informed, and they continued doing business with us. This taught me that managing expectations with honesty is often more important than being perfect. Question number 8. Tell me about a time when you made sure a customer was pleased with your service. This question highlights your ability to provide excellent customer service. Employers want to know if you can identify customer needs, go the extra mile, and ensure satisfaction. The best way to answer is to share an example where you actively work to create a positive experience, not just fulfill basic requirements. At my previous retail job, a customer came in looking for a specific product that was out of stock in our store. Instead of simply telling them we didn't have it, I took the initiative to check nearby locations and reserved the item at another branch for them. I also provided clear directions and called ahead to ensure the product would be waiting when they arrived. To save them time, I even offered to have the item shipped directly to their home if they preferred. The customer was surprised at the extra effort and thanked me for taking the stress out of the situation. Later, they left a positive review mentioning my name, which my manager recognized in a team meeting. This experience showed me that small actions, like going beyond the immediate request, can make a lasting impression on customers. It reinforced my belief that customer service is about creating solutions and building loyalty, not just completing a transaction. Question number 9. Describe a time when you had to interact with a difficult client or customer. What was the situation and how did you handle it? This question assesses patience, professionalism, and conflict resolution with customers. Employers want to see if you can stay calm under pressure and turn a challenging situation into a positive outcome. The best approach is to describe the customer's concern, show empathy, explain how you handled the situation calmly, and share the resolution. At a call center, I once had a customer who was upset about a billing error and raised their voice as soon as I answered. Instead of matching their tone, I remained calm and let them fully explain their frustration without interrupting. Once they felt heard, I apologized sincerely and assured them that I would resolve the issue. I carefully reviewed their account, identified the mistake, and explained what had gone wrong in a way that was easy to understand. Then I corrected the error and offered to waive the late fee that had been incorrectly applied. I also followed up with a confirmation email so they had peace of mind that the issue was closed. By the end of the call, the customer's tone had softened, and they even thanked me for my patience. That experience reminded me how empathy and active listening can turn a negative customer interaction into a chance to build trust and loyalty. Question number 10. Tell me about a time when you had to establish priorities for yourself. This question evaluates organizational skills and time management. Employers want to know that you can set priorities effectively and handle multiple responsibilities without losing focus. The best way to answer is to describe a situation where you had competing demands. Explain how you decided what came first and share how your prioritization helped achieve success. In one of my previous jobs, I had to balance preparing weekly reports, assisting customers, and training a new employee all in the same week. At first, it felt overwhelming, but I created a detailed schedule that broke tasks into smaller, manageable steps. I decided to handle customer-facing responsibilities first since they were time-sensitive, then dedicated blocks of time for report writing. For training, I built it into quieter parts of the day so the new employee could shadow me without interruptions. I also communicated with my manager about deadlines to make sure priorities were aligned with team expectations. This system not only allowed me to meet all my responsibilities, but also gave me a sense of control instead of stress. By the end of the week, the reports were submitted on time, customers were satisfied, and the new hire felt more confident in their role. That experience taught me that organization and communication are the key to balancing priorities successfully. Question number 11. Describe a time when you saw a problem and took the initiative to correct it. Employers ask this to measure proactivity and ownership. They want to see if you step in to solve issues instead of waiting for someone else to handle them. The best way to answer is to describe the problem, explain the action you took, and highlight the positive result. Show that you are resourceful and dependable. While working in an office environment, I noticed that several team members were struggling with an outdated shared spreadsheet that often caused confusion and errors. Instead of waiting for someone else to address it, I took the initiative to design a more organized version with automated formulas and clearer labeling. I tested the new spreadsheet with a smaller group first and asked for feedback to make improvements before rolling it out to the whole team. Once implemented, the tool cut reporting errors in half and made weekly updates much faster. My manager appreciated that I not only identified the problem, but also created a practical solution that saved time and improved accuracy. The project wasn't assigned to me, but I recognized that fixing the issue would help everyone. That experience taught me that even small changes can create significant improvements, and taking the initiative often shows leadership, even when you aren't in a leadership role officially. Question number 12. Tell me about a time when you worked under either extremely close supervision or extremely loose supervision. How did you handle it? This question tests adaptability and independence. Hiring managers want to see that you can succeed whether you're closely guided or working with more freedom. The best way to answer is to choose one type of supervision, explain the challenges it created, and describe how you adjusted your approach. In one of my early jobs, I worked under very close supervision from a manager who preferred to be updated frequently. At first, I found it challenging because I was used to more independence, but I quickly realized the importance of building trust by aligning with their style. I made a habit of providing detailed progress updates and documenting my tasks clearly so they felt confident about the work being done. Over time, my manager began to see that I was reliable and started giving me more independence. This taught me that adapting to a manager's preferred style is critical to building a strong working relationship. While I personally enjoy autonomy, I learned to value frequent check-ins as a way to improve communication and clarify expectations. By adjusting my style, I not only earned greater trust, but also grew more flexible in working with different leadership approaches, which has helped me in every role since. Before we continue, I just want to take a moment to thank you for watching this video. You can download a copy of these interview questions and answers in PDF format by clicking on the link below and supporting my channel by making a minimum donation of $3. Your support allows me to keep creating valuable content to help you pass your interview and land your dream job. Thanks for your support and appreciation. Question number 13. Give me an example of a time you were able to be creative with your work. This question assesses problem solving and innovation. Employers want to see if you can bring fresh ideas to improve processes, products, or experiences. The best way to answer is to describe a situation where creativity led to a practical improvement, not just a novel idea. Emphasize both innovation and results. While working in a customer service role, I noticed that many clients asked the same questions repeatedly, which slowed down calls and frustrated both them and the staff. To solve this, I suggested creating a simple FAQ handout and digital resource that answered the most common questions in plain language. I collaborated with my manager to design and format the materials, then tested them with customers. The result was a noticeable drop in repeat questions, shorter call times, and happier customers who felt they had quick access to answers. My colleagues also appreciated the tool because it reduced their workload and allowed them to focus on more complex issues. That experience taught me that creativity doesn't always mean reinventing the wheel. It can be as simple as looking at a common challenge in a new way and finding a solution that improves efficiency. It reinforced my belief that creative thinking should always be tied to practical impact. Question number 14. Tell me about a time you were dissatisfied in your role. What could have been done to make it better? This question is meant to test self-awareness and professionalism. Employers want to know how you handle dissatisfaction without sounding overly negative. The best approach is to focus on a past situation. Describe how you handled it constructively and share what you learned or what you now look for in a role. In a previous role, I sometimes felt dissatisfied because there was limited communication between departments. Important updates were often delayed, which made my job harder and sometimes led to duplicated work. Instead of letting the frustration affect my performance, I suggested holding short weekly check-in meetings to share progress across teams. My manager agreed, and we started implementing the practice. It quickly improved collaboration, reduced confusion, and created a more positive environment. Looking back, I realized that dissatisfaction often comes from unmet needs, like communication, and the best way to handle it is to be proactive about finding solutions. What I learned is that I value roles where open communication and teamwork are prioritized because they create smoother workflows and stronger team relationships. Now, when I encounter obstacles, I focus less on the problem and more on how I can contribute to making the situation better. Question number 15. Tell me about a time when you worked as part of a team to successfully execute a project. This question evaluates teamwork and collaboration. Employers want to know if you can contribute to group goals, communicate effectively, and support others. The best way to answer is to highlight your role in the team, explain how you collaborated, and share the successful outcome. During a group project at my previous company, we were tasked with preparing a presentation for senior leadership in just 1 week. Each person had a different strength, so we divided responsibilities based on skills. One handled data analysis, another focused on visuals, and I was responsible for structuring the presentation and speaking during the meeting. I coordinated regular check-ins to ensure everyone was on track and kept communication clear by setting up a shared document where updates were visible to the whole team. When a teammate fell behind due to illness, I volunteered to take on part of their workload so deadlines weren't missed. In the end, we delivered a professional presentation that not only impressed leadership, but also secured approval for our project plan. What I learned from this experience is that successful teamwork requires flexibility, clear communication, and a willingness to step in when others need support. It showed me the value of collaboration in achieving results greater than what one person could do alone. Question number 16. Do you have any experience with solving complex problems? Give me an example. This question tests problem-solving, analytical skills, and persistence. Employers want to know how you break down complicated challenges and find practical solutions. The best way to answer is to describe the problem clearly, walk through the steps you took to analyze it, and explain how you reached a solution. Focus on both logic and creativity. In a previous role, I was asked to prepare a sales forecast for a new product launch, but the available data was incomplete and inconsistent. At first, it felt overwhelming because multiple departments had conflicting numbers. To address this, I started by meeting with stakeholders from each department to clarify where the differences came from. I then consolidated the data into one central document and created scenarios that accounted for both conservative and optimistic outcomes. Once the numbers were reconciled, I built a clear forecast model that leadership could easily understand. The final report gave the team a reliable roadmap and helped guide production decisions, which ultimately saved the company money by avoiding overproduction. That experience taught me the value of breaking complex problems into smaller pieces and communicating clearly with others to get the information needed. It also showed me how persistence and organization are key to solving challenges that initially seemed too big to tackle. Question number 17. Tell me about a time you failed. What did you learn from it? This question evaluates resilience, accountability, and growth. Employers want to see if you can reflect on failure without blaming others and if you treat setbacks as learning opportunities. The best approach is to briefly describe the failure, explain the lesson you learned, and show how you've applied it to improve. Early in my career, I was responsible for organizing a small company event. I underestimated how much time the planning would take and failed to confirm the venue early enough, which forced us to change locations at the last minute. While the event still happened, it caused unnecessary stress for my manager and team. I took full responsibility and apologized, but I also reflected on why it happened. I realized I hadn't built a strong enough timeline with clear checkpoints. To make sure it didn't happen again, I started using project management tools to map out deadlines and reminders. The next time I organized an event, everything was completed ahead of schedule, and the team appreciated how smooth the process was. That experience taught me that failure isn't the end. It's an opportunity to build stronger habits. I now see mistakes as stepping stones that strengthen both my planning skills and my ability to stay accountable. Question number 18. Tell me about an experience in which you had to speak up to make sure others knew what you thought or felt. This question measures confidence, communication, and assertiveness. Employers want to see if you can voice your perspective respectfully, especially when it impacts the success of a project or team. The best strategy is to describe the situation, explain what prompted you to speak up, and show that it led to a constructive outcome. During a team meeting, our group was preparing to present a marketing campaign idea to leadership. Most of the team wanted to move forward with a flashy concept that looked appealing but didn't align with the budget. At first, I hesitated to share my concern, but I knew it was important to speak up. I respectfully pointed out the cost implications and suggested a modified version of the campaign that would still be creative but more realistic. I supported my viewpoint with data and examples from past projects. The team listened, and we ultimately agreed to adjust the plan. Leadership approved it without concerns, and the campaign was successful without straining resources. That moment showed me the value of advocating for my perspective when it can protect the team and the company. It also boosted my confidence in speaking up because I saw how respectfully sharing my opinion can lead to better decisions. Question number 19. Tell me about a time in which you had to use your written communication skills to get an important point across. This question evaluates clarity, professionalism, and communication style. Employers want to see if you can write in a way that influences or informs others effectively. The best way to answer is to describe the situation, explain what you wrote, and share how it achieved the intended result. In a prior role, I was responsible for creating reports that summarized customer feedback for senior leadership. Initially, my reports were filled with detailed data, but I noticed leaders weren't engaging with them as much as I hoped. To improve, I shifted my writing style to focus on clarity and impact. I highlighted key themes, used bullet points for readability, and added a brief executive summary at the top. I also included a few short customer quotes to make the data feel more real. After this change, leadership commented that the reports were much easier to understand and immediately actionable. They began using the insights to make quick decisions on product improvements. This experience taught me that strong written communication is not just about providing information, it's about presenting it in a way that engages the reader and drives action. Since then, I've applied this approach to all of my professional writing. Question number 20. Tell me about a time you faced resistance when trying to implement change. How did you deal with it? This question measures leadership, adaptability, and influence. Employers want to see if you can handle pushback constructively and guide others through change. The best way to answer is to describe the resistance, explain how you listened and communicated, and share how you ultimately gained buy-in. While working on a process improvement project, I proposed moving from paper-based reporting to a digital system. Several colleagues resisted because they were comfortable with the old way and worried the new system would be complicated. Instead of pushing too hard, I took time to listen to their concerns and acknowledged their frustrations. I then offered a short training session where I demonstrated how the new system would actually save time and reduce errors. I also provided step-by-step guides so they felt supported during the transition. After trying the system, many realized it was more efficient, and over time, the resistance faded. The project ended up being a success, and productivity noticeably improved. That experience taught me that change requires patience, empathy, and communication. By focusing on the benefits and providing support, I was able to turn resistance into acceptance and show others the value of adapting to new approaches. Question number 21. Describe a situation in which you were able to positively influence the actions of others. This question tests leadership, persuasion, and teamwork. Employers want to see if you can inspire others to move in a positive direction without relying on authority. The best way to answer is to describe the situation, explain what you did to influence others, and share the outcome. Focus on communication, empathy, and collaboration. In a past role, I was part of a team working on a new product launch. Several colleagues were hesitant to adopt a revised marketing strategy because it seemed risky and different from what we had done before. I believed strongly in the new approach, so I gathered data and examples from similar campaigns to show how it could work. Instead of pressuring the team, I held a meeting where I walked them through the numbers and answered their concerns. I also encouraged feedback so they felt included in the decision. Over time, my persistence and open communication helped the team feel more confident in trying the new strategy. We launched the campaign and saw a noticeable increase in customer engagement compared to previous efforts. That experience taught me that influence isn't about being the loudest voice, it's about listening, presenting facts clearly, and building trust so others feel comfortable moving forward together. Question number 22. Tell me about a time you went above and beyond the call of duty. This question evaluates work ethic and initiative. Employers want to know if you are willing to go the extra mile when needed. The best approach is to describe the situation, explain why you went above expectations, and share the positive outcome for both the company and customer. While working in retail, I noticed a regular customer who seemed upset because she couldn't find the product she needed for an upcoming family event. The item was out of stock in our location, and she was considering shopping elsewhere. Instead of letting that happen, I personally called several nearby stores until I found the product. I reserved it under her name and gave her directions to pick it up, while also offering to order more for our store to prevent the issue in the future. The customer was so grateful that she wrote a positive review mentioning my name. My manager later recognized me in a team meeting for taking initiative to create a positive customer experience. That situation reinforced my belief that customer service is about more than just completing a transaction. It's about solving problems and showing care. Going above and beyond often creates loyalty and builds stronger connections with both customers and teammates. Question number 23. Tell me about an important goal you achieved and how you motivated yourself to reach it. This question tests goal setting and self-motivation. Employers want to see how you plan, stay disciplined, and follow through to achieve results. The best strategy is to describe the goal, explain your process, and highlight how persistence and focus helped you succeed. One of my most important goals was completing a professional certification while working full-time. Balancing work and studying was difficult, but I created a strict schedule that set aside study time every evening and on weekends. To stay motivated, I broke the larger goal into smaller milestones, rewarding myself each time I finished a section. I also kept reminding myself how the certification would help me grow in my career, which gave me a sense of purpose. There were times when I felt tired after long work days, but sticking to the schedule and visualizing the end result kept me on track. After months of preparation, I passed the exam on the first attempt. That accomplishment not only gave me new skills, but also strengthened my confidence in setting and achieving long-term goals. It showed me that discipline and consistency are powerful motivators, and I continue to apply that mindset to challenges at work. Question number 24. What was the most difficult decision you have had to make in your career? This question assesses decision-making, judgment, and integrity. Employers want to see how you weigh options and handle tough choices. The best way to answer is to explain the situation, outline your thought process, and show that you considered the impact on both the company and people involved. The most difficult decision I faced was when I had to recommend downsizing a project team due to budget cuts. On one hand, I wanted to protect everyone's positions, but on the other hand, I knew the company couldn't sustain the costs. I carefully reviewed workloads and consulted with managers to identify essential roles. I also spoke individually with team members to understand their skills and potential for reassignment. After weighing the options, I recommended restructuring the team and worked with HR to place affected employees in other roles where possible. It was not easy, but the decision allowed the project to continue successfully while minimizing negative impact on staff. I learned that difficult decisions require balancing empathy with practicality. By being transparent, thoughtful, and focused on long-term stability, I was able to make a choice that was tough in the moment but beneficial overall. Question number 25. Tell me about a specific setback you faced. How did you deal with it? This question evaluates resilience and problem solving. Employers want to see how you react when things don't go as planned. The best approach is to describe the setback clearly, explain how you responded, and share the positive outcome or lesson you gained from it. Early in my career, I applied for a promotion that I felt fully qualified for, but I didn't get selected. At first, it felt discouraging because I had worked hard and thought I was ready. Instead of letting it stop me, I asked my manager for feedback to understand where I could improve. They explained that while I had strong technical skills, I needed to build more leadership experience. Taking that feedback to heart, I volunteered to lead smaller projects and took on mentoring responsibilities for newer employees. Over time, this helped me grow my confidence in guiding others and gave me the leadership experience I was missing. A year later, when I reapplied, I was promoted into the role. That setback taught me that rejection isn't failure, it's an opportunity to grow. By staying open to feedback and adjusting my approach, I turned the experience into motivation that pushed my career forward. Question number 26. Give an example of a time when you identified a potential problem and resolved it before it became serious. This question tests foresight and problem prevention skills. Employers want to see if you can recognize issues early and act quickly to avoid bigger consequences. The best way to answer is to describe the warning signs you noticed, the proactive steps you took, and the positive result of preventing escalation. While working as an administrative assistant, I was responsible for scheduling client meetings. One week I noticed a double booking that could have caused embarrassment for our team and frustration for the client. Instead of waiting for the conflict to surface, I immediately contacted both parties, explained the scheduling issue, and worked out a revised time that suited everyone. To prevent it from happening again, I redesigned the scheduling process by introducing a shared online calendar and built-in reminders that flagged conflicts before they were confirmed. This small change improved efficiency and gave my team more confidence in the process. My manager later commented that catching the issue early not only saved us from damaging our client relationship but also improved trust internally because the team saw I was paying attention to the details. From this experience, I learned that being proactive often makes the difference between a minor issue and a major one, and I apply that same level of vigilance to every task I take on now. Question number 27. Tell me about a time when you had too many things to do and needed to prioritize tasks. This question evaluates organizational skills and time management. Employers want to see if you can handle multiple responsibilities without feeling overwhelmed. The best way to answer is to describe the workload, explain how you set priorities, and share how your approach led to success. During a particularly busy week in my last role, I was tasked with completing 2 client reports, assisting in training a new employee, and preparing for a departmental presentation. At first, the workload felt overwhelming, but I quickly created a task list organized by urgency and impact. I prioritized client-facing work since it directly affected deadlines, then blocked off specific hours for report writing. I scheduled the employee training during less busy parts of the day and delegated smaller administrative tasks to coworkers who had more bandwidth. I also kept open communication with my manager, updating them on progress so expectations were clear. This structured approach allowed me to meet every deadline, support the new hire effectively, and deliver a strong presentation on time. The experience reinforced the importance of planning, flexibility, and communication in high-pressure situations. I now consistently use prioritization tools like time blocking to manage competing demands while still producing high-quality work. Question number 28. Give me an example of a goal you failed to meet. What caused it and how did you recover? This question tests accountability and resilience. Employers want to see if you can own setbacks and turn them into opportunities for growth. The best way to answer is to describe the missed goal honestly, explain what caused it, and highlight what you learned and changed afterward. Earlier in my career, I set a goal to close a certain number of client accounts within a quarter. I fell short of that target, primarily because I underestimated how long it would take to build trust with new clients. Initially, I felt frustrated, but instead of dwelling on the failure, I analyzed where I had gone wrong. I realized I was focusing too much on volume rather than relationship building, which limited long-term success. To recover, I shifted my approach by investing more time in understanding client needs, asking better questions, and personalizing follow-up communication. Over the next quarter, this strategy not only helped me meet my targets, but also led to stronger client relationships and repeat business. That experience taught me that setting goals is not just about ambition, but also about strategy and adaptability. Now I approach goals with more realistic planning, balancing persistence with the patience required for long-term results. Question number 29. Tell me about a time you successfully adapted to a culturally different environment. This question evaluates adaptability, cultural awareness, and inclusivity. Employers want to see if you can adjust to diverse environments while respecting different perspectives. The best way to answer is to describe the new environment, explain how you adapted, and highlight the positive result. During a summer internship, I worked with a team that included colleagues from several different countries. At first, I noticed differences in communication styles. Some team members were very direct, while others were more reserved. Instead of assuming one style was better, I made an effort to observe, listen, and adjust how I communicated, depending on who I was speaking with. I also asked respectful questions about cultural preferences to avoid misunderstandings. For example, when scheduling meetings, I considered time zone differences and holidays that were unfamiliar to me. Over time, this flexibility helped build stronger relationships with my teammates, and our collaboration became much smoother. The project was ultimately delivered successfully, and I received feedback that my willingness to adapt created a more inclusive environment. That experience reinforced the importance of being open-minded and flexible in diverse settings. It taught me that adapting to cultural differences isn't about changing who you are, but about respecting others and finding ways to connect more effectively. And finally, here's the last question. Question number 30. Give an example of a time when you made an intentional effort to get to know someone from another culture. This question highlights curiosity, inclusivity, and interpersonal skills. Employers want to know if you actively seek to build connections across differences. The best way to answer is to describe the effort you made, why it mattered, and the positive outcome for both the relationship and the work environment. In a previous role, I worked closely with a new colleague who had recently moved from another country. I noticed they were quieter in meetings, and I wanted to make sure they felt included. I invited them to lunch and asked about their background, culture, and professional experiences in a way that was respectful and genuine. As we got to know each other, I also shared insights about the company's culture and workplace norms, which helped them feel more comfortable. Over time, our working relationship became stronger, and they began contributing more ideas in meetings, which improved the team's overall creativity and perspective. They later thanked me for taking the time to reach out and said it made their transition much smoother. That experience taught me that making small, intentional efforts to connect with people from different backgrounds can create trust and strengthen teamwork. It reminded me that inclusivity isn't just a company value, it's something we each need to practice daily. If you want to learn more on how to land jobs and reach your career goals, don't forget to hit that subscribe and bell notification button to get new videos every single week. Also, don't forget to hit that like button because that motivates me to keep doing what I do. Stay safe, keep smiling, and good luck.